Hello and welcome to episode 56 of Daryl Show Your Work. In this video, I will be attempting to find and to exploit some server-side vulnerabilities on a web server. All right, so as usual, I want to preface any sort of offensive security that I do or any sort of red teaming that I do. I want to preface this by saying that this is for educational and research purposes only, and any malicious activity that may come from anyone watching my video that I do not assume responsibility for, and in fact, I condemn. So, with that said, let us get started. So, what I would need to do in order to identify a target in its open ports is, of course, some recon, and I will do that with an nmap scan. All right, so sorry. So I'm going to start by saying nmap. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a network scan of my whole network here, and it's going to tell me what devices are up on the network, and I'm going to do that by entering my CIDR address. And instead of just a host name or a IP address, I'm gonna give it a CIDR, which when I write this out is basically telling nmap to, hey, scan my whole network and tell me and basically look for any host that's up and tell me what ports are open and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just going to do a simple scan here. So let's give it a few seconds. All right, um, so it's identified two hosts. So we're one of those hosts, and then so we are actually 192, 168, 100, 100, and I'm also going to do an IF config to confirm this. But right now we have port 22, which is SSH, and port 3389, which is RDP open. And then we want to focus on this one right here, since this is another host that's up. And given that only port 80 is open, I think it should be safe to assume that this is probably a web server. All right. So, but let's confirm that I am indeed 192, 168, 100, 100 by doing an IF config. Okay, so focusing on the Ethernet zero portion of our output here, of our interface output, I am indeed 192, 168, 100, 100. Okay, so now that we got that confirmed, now we need to learn some things about this host that's up. All right. So what I want to do, since I suspect that it's a web server, I want to use something called Gobuster. And what Gobuster is, it's a tool used for brute forcing directories on web server. So it does not come pre-installed on Kali Linux. However, if you are running Kali Linux and you want it, or any other distribution, and you wanted to install this on your Linux OS to play around with, you can easily download it by doing sudo apt and then um, install GoBuster. Okay, and that's what will initialize the download of the GoBuster application. So what makes GoBuster a bit different than your typical tool, let's say like a Hydra, is that, or John the Ripper. What it does use a word list, but it uses commonly named directories to brute force web directories to basically guess what web directories are present, and then that helps us then to enumerate what what directories that web server is using, so then we can then type it into the URL, see if we can access those directories, if those are exposed at all to us. All right. So in order for us to discover any of those outward facing directories are present, I need to start up Gobuster. So in order to do that, I'm gonna say Gobuster, dir for directory, and then and then dash u for URL. Then I'm gonna, since I suspect that we are dealing with a web server, I'm gonna say HTTP // no s, since we know we're dealing with port 80, and I'm gonna just simply put in the IP address of our target, 168, 100, and then 101. All right, and then I'm gonna say dash w. All right, then I'm gonna specify our word list, which is stored on my end at user share word list drb, and the name of the word list file is common.txt, as in commonly used um, directory names. All right, so just checking my syntax here. All right, and again, what this command is going to do is going to use Gobuster to use this word list. All right, and is going to brute force the suspected web server and find out a bit more about it in its directories. All right, so let's see if we get any of those if those common directory names match up and we have any of those present in our web server. All right. All right, that ran pretty fast. So it looks like we have the presence of two directories here. So we have an index.php directory, and then we have an uploads directory. So, and it actually gives a specific uh, path to the uploads directory. So, which is very interesting. So let's dive a bit further into that. And all right, so what I'm gonna do in order to do that, of course, I'm gonna have to open up a browser. All right, so let's navigate our way to that server. So 192, see, all right, not 100. So we're just going to change that to 101. And then actually it's 100. All right. It says, welcome to the cutest pet contest. All right. So I'm going to click on go to contest here. All right, so here is our upload page. So the thing that we want to look at is up here, right here at the URL. So it's showing the endpoint in the form of the slash upload.php, which could indicate a potential vulnerability if the upload functionality is not properly secured, as it might allow me to upload and execute malicious files, leading to further exploitation of the server. All right, so let's test this out. Let's see if it's vulnerable. In order to do that, I'm gonna head back to my terminal. All right, and then I'm going to create a malicious PHP file. All right, and so what the script that I'm going to write, what it's going to do is it's going to create a command execution interface inside of the website, which will allow me to attempt to gain access to the backend machine. All right, so I'm going to create this by using my handy text editor, and we're going to call this file rev.php. rev.php. All right, so since this is a long line of code and I don't want to take us on the same adventure that I took us on our last video where I fat fingered a bunch of stuff, I'm just going to paste what I got here on my end into here. All right. So just know that that this is basically specifying just what it's going to create, and it's going to create again like a text box like feature where I enter in input, and then it's going to have a button that executes whatever that input is. So in the long story short, when looking at this, all right. So I'm going to do an exit and save. All right. So let's try to execute this this on the website in. So in order to do that, I'm going to search for it and then upload it. So this should be saved in my home directory. We can see it right here. So I'm going to upload that. All right, we can see the file name right here, rev.php, and I'm going to click upload file. All right. Now, in order to get to that file that I uploaded, I'm going to have to navigate there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply I'm going to use the URL that we found during our Gobusters brute force, which was uploads. All right. So this time, though, instead of just going directly to uploads, I'm going to take us directly to the file that I created, and that should execute it. All right. All right, voila. And as I said, so here is our text box in order for me to enter input. And then I'm going to just simply click this button here to execute whatever that I write into this text box here. All right, um, so the next thing that I need to do is I need to set up a netcat listener in order for it to listen for any sort of connections that I'm going to that I'm going to execute here. So when in order to set netcat up, I'm gonna say nc dash l for listen, b for verbose as far as the amount of information that we wanted to give back once a connection is made, and then p to specify the port, and I'm going to tell it let's listen on port 2222. All right. So again, kind of giving a high level overview of what netcat is. It's a I would say it's a process that uses netcat's uh, uh, networking utility to listen for incoming network connections on specific ports. So in this case, I'm using port 2222. So it can accept connections over either the TCP or UDP protocol ports. And netcat is it's often used, but it's often called the Swift Army knife of networking because because of how versatile it is, and it's a command line tool used for various tasks, including port scanning, file transfers, and debugging network connections. In this instance, we're just using the listener portion of the application. All right, so I'm going to hit enter to start up this this listener. All right, so it's listening for any connections that I attempt to make. And the idea is for me to execute code here and to connect to port 2222 by executing an arbitrary system command from here. All right. So in order to do that, I'm going to write a command in here. And after I'm done, I'm going to explain what it's doing. So I'm going to say PHP, since that's what the file that we wrote is written in. And I'm going to say R sock telling it to open the socket. What? Hold on, let me see. I got my head of myself there. Open. There we go, to open the socket. And then, all right, then I want to specify the IP address. That this is coming from. Just 101. If we want to tell it the port. All right, close that up. Execute. All right, do we want to execute? All right, so what? Hold on, I'm gonna explain. Let's see the bash. Then ampersand 3. All right, so what this essentially what this is going to do is this should allow me to run a reverse shell um, um, on on this server here. All right, so this is what's going to, I'm basically telling it to open it to open for PHP to execute and to open up a socket here at this web address, which is where the web server is located on port 2222. All right, and then execute this code here, which has been bash, which is going to start up a shell script in the form of a bash session on the target web server. So I'm gonna execute and let's see if everything went okay. Apparently I did not write that correctly, so I'm gonna tell you what, I'm just gonna paste it in there. All right, give me a second here. Let me find where I have that written out. All right, it looks like what I wrote, but apparently not. So let's execute it again. Still not liking it. So let's see. Make sure that I got everything set up with my net. Let's scan. No, that's listening. Let's see. Yeah, that should have started up a shell session. Let's see what's going on. Well, let's see. Let me try to specify something different here. Mess with the command line a little bit. Let me see. Maybe I got this. Maybe this is off. Let's change that to 100. Right now, let's execute. Okay, that looked like that may have done it. Yes, it did. Okay, so we got sorry. So I needed to actually put in our IP address there in order to make that connection. Okay, so in order to make sure that we are indeed connected, which it looks like we are, I'm going to write a who am I command to see am I indeed in a user's account on this web server. Say who am I? Apparently, I'm in an account called Bob. All right, which is great. Now, I want to be able to escalate my privileges to root. So in order to do that, I am going to write a command here. Um, um, that's basically going to tell me to see if there's any sort of sudo command I can run in order to do that. All right, so I'm going to say sudo -elf list. All right. Okay, so we can see that we look down here, all right, we can see that the user Bob has the ability to execute the find command as root without a password, which I can exploit to escalate my privileges, and that's what I'm about to do. All right, so in order to do so, I'm going to write the following command: find dot 4000 dev. No. Okay. So so what this command is going to do, it's going to check if the SUID bit is set for the find command. All right, and just as a reminder, as kind of a callback to a previous video I did on special Linux permissions. SUID is a special type of Linux file permission that allows a file to be executed with the permission of the file owner rather than the permissions of the user who runs the file. All right, so that's what's going to be able to enable me to be able to pull this off. So I'm gonna hit enter, see if I can find that permission. All right, it looks like I can. It's giving me a bunch of so I'm giving me a bunch of output here. So that's indicative that that those that special privilege is actually active. So in order for me to exploit this, I'm going to write another find command. So I'm going to say find dash exc for execute. Then I'm gonna do bin bash. Just oops. Since we're dealing with bash. All right, then dash p backslash and then semicolon. Oops, semicolon. All right, and then then I want to make sure I tell it to quit. Dash quit. All right, so this is what's gonna this command should escalate my privileges to our root privileges. So let's see if that works. All right, and I'm gonna do who am I now to see if that indeed did escalate my privileges. All right, so if you can see now, I am root. Okay, so um, that's the basis of what I wanted to show here is just a server-side exploit, how we could use a simple application such as a Gobuster to find those to see if any of those directories were present on the web server, on the front facing web server side. If I could get to that externally, those internal directories from the outside, which I was able to and which I shouldn't have been able to. And then I was able then, because it had an upload feature, I was able then to upload my own malicious script in there to then to be able to cause a an external remote connection into the web server. And then from there I was able to uh, basically get in with a regular user account, and then run find and find out if the user account that I was in was using any sort of special privileges, which it was. And that allowed me to be able to discover that I could run the find command, um, um, and use that to escalate my privileges to root. All right. So please like, subscribe, and share. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.